The last couple of years, work's just come to us, right? And now you've actually got to go out there and find it. You've got to work for it. And it's pretty arrogant of us to go, oh, geez, the work's not out there anymore. What's out there? You just got to bloody work for it a bit harder.
What is success to you?
I think it was a learn to love it experience.
And there's always pitfalls that you can fall in, but then you've got no one else to blame but yourself.
Number one thing if you're struggling is to catch other people about it.
Jeff, Vivian, thanks for coming on the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, appreciate that. We just went and grabbed a little coffee, and we were just sort of talking around what's been going on out there in the industry, and
right.
It's fascinating stuff, especially all the stuff you guys have been working on. I want to cover a lot of that. I want to cover especially amazing work you guys have been doing, the resi, commercial. It's a lot to talk about. But before we kind of do that, tell me, a little bit about your background. Like, where did you grow up? Did you grow up around Auckland, or where did you?
Yeah, we had a great childhood. So grew up in Devonport. Me, two brothers. So we grew up in Devonport. Had a great childhood. Beaches and rugby and sport and everything like that. We couldn't have been luckier in that respect. And then I went off and did a carpentry apprenticeship, and then a few rugby injuries, and Dad was sort of like, "You're never going to be a chippy when you're 50, mate. What are you going to do?" So I went and retrained at night, and got a Bachelor of Construction Management, and then grew from there into the commercial corporate construction world, and then 7 years ago. Brothers and I decided to give Vivian Construction a crack, and never looked back really.
How close are you and your brothers in age? Are you guys quite close in age?
So I'm the oldest, and then it goes down about 4 years each one. So Matt's about 4 years younger, and then Tom the youngest brother.
Cool. What was that like growing up in Devonport? 3 brothers. Were you guys quite tight?
Very tight. Yeah, very tight. We had a great childhood, Very tight. Very fortunate. Just lived at the rugby club really. That was where we all spent our time down at North Shore. Spent a lot of time there and through Takapuna Grammar, and we had a great childhood, and very tight, and still are to this day.
Yeah, great place to grow up, Devonport. Such a cool little village or whatever you call it, suburb.
Yeah.
We go there quite regularly. So that's very cool. Okay, so what position did you play rugby?
I was a hooker.
Oh, real?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
In the front row there.
Yeah. I thought you looked like a hooker. Very cool. Okay. So then you decided to become a chippy.
Yep.
And how did you transition to that? Did you do an apprenticeship?
Yeah, did an apprenticeship. And look, for me, mate, I was never a great chippy. I was really good at managing. I'm really good at managing and telling people what to do, but it wasn't really my passion. I love the industry, but I was always probably in a rush to get to the next step. So as I said, went and retrained and really focused on the management side, and never looked back really. But
and then what did you do there? So how long were you a chippy for?
Only about 4 years, 3 or 4 years, from 18 to 21, 22, and then off the tools after that.
Right. And then what did you say you did night school or something? How did you then retrain yourself to do more of the project management side?
Yeah, so sort of nights, and when I moved did my cadetship at a company called Watson Hughes, so was able to go during the day and do 1 or 2 papers a semester. So it took me quite a while to get there, but eventually ended up with that bachelor's in construction management, and probably learnt more on the job than at uni, as everyone probably attests to. But so. Yeah, learned a lot on the job, and had a great cadetship at Watson Hughes, and then moved on to Arrow International as a site manager, and spent 10 years there, right through to project director role, and then moved on to an operations manager role as part of a team establishing Lee's Construction in Auckland, a Christchurch company.
Awesome. And how long were you at Lee's for?
Lee's was 3.5 years. Yeah, so really amazing company. Anthony's built a fantastic company there. Helped him establish into Auckland for those first couple of years there, and always had that desire to go do our own thing. And it got to that point where it was time to take the leap. But had an amazing journey at Lees. We were able to grow them into the great presence they are. Off Christchurch's the reputation they've got in Christchurch and Antarctica, and just an amazing company.
With Lees, you guys did they do commercial? Did they do residential multi-unit stuff as well? What sort of stuff?
Yeah,
did
they
they
did
do?
a few apartments, but when I was there, we were fortunate to secure Mount Eden Prison, which is a sort of $100 million job, and another $100 million job out at Fisher and Paykel. So big commercial projects is where they deliver exceptionally well, and also in the hospitals and government space.
Yeah. So what's the difference between, if you're looking at builders looking to get into residential versus commercial? We just had Nathan Reynolds on from Fortified a few weeks back. They kind of transitioned into some commercial stuff. What are some of the things builders should know? What were some of the biggest differences between the sort of residential market and commercial market out there?
Size and scale and complexity of projects is probably the first obvious one, but they are kind of chalk and cheese. The contractual side is huge, so working under a 3910 contract, and obviously on the size and types of those projects, you end up with a client side team as well. So a client side project manager, a client side QS. The consultant teams are bigger, so everything's bigger in scale. Everything's a lot more professional in terms of how you have to deliver things, how you deliver and get variations or programs and extensions of time. So it's a very different beast.
Yeah.
And as I say, the contractual side is probably the key component to that.
Yeah. So what's some sort of ways that builders can sort of protect themselves better when they transition into that commercial space?
Learning from experience, and we've made mistakes along the way, and we still do make mistakes. I think it's when I say be contractual, that's really important. It's to you've both spent time negotiating a fair contract, and then it's only fair to actually use that contract as it's written. We as builders, we're always pretty nice guys, and we want to maybe not charge that variation or whatever it might be. We can still be the good guy, but I think what we need to do and protect ourselves is claim our entitlement to that variation, claim our entitlement to that extra time. And we can still be the good guy and not charge for that, but at least we've protected our entitlement and we've got that up our sleeve.
Yeah.
I think that's really important to respect that the contract's been written, and we just need to administer that contract as it's written and fair.
Yeah. And what's some, has there been some mistakes over the years, Jeff, in terms of, maybe you guys left some things out of the contract that probably should have been in there?
Yep.
Like, what sort of learnings did you guys have over there, and specifically around that sort of contract management?
Yeah, probably all of that. We've missed some things out. We've been trying to be the good guy. We won't charge for that extension of time or whatever, and no one thanks you for that at the end of the job. And when it does, you might have had a contractual entitlement to claim an extra month, and the job ends up, you don't claim it, the job ends up going 2 weeks late. You feel aggrieved because you feel you've done a great job by getting it back to within a couple of weeks. The client feels, well, hold on, but the date's back here because you haven't claimed that entitlement. So managing the contract and managing the project professionally is the most important thing we can do to protect ourselves, and it's the best thing we can do respectfully for the client too.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And it keeps everyone honest, and it keeps everyone on the same page, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's not hard to do, but it's a discipline thing. It's a consistency thing. Programs, managing, marking up your contractual program every single week, knowing if you're getting behind, if it's your issue, how are you going to mitigate that? If it's a client delay, notifying them. In the 3910 contract, there's a responsibility for the contractor to provide early warning to the client that there might be a delay on something. So there's a lot of work within that contract that you need to do, and we've made a lot of mistakes by not following the contract properly in the past. and it only bites you in the ass later, eh?
Yeah. A lot of builders aren't great at, they're probably the first to say, aren't great at systems and processes and so forth. How important are those when it comes to commercial operation versus just like a resi renovation?
It's what we live and breathe. Unfortunately, it's what we do all day, every day. And we've been on a journey of growing that too. Tom, the youngest brother, has been, it was one of his core roles was delivering that systems and process, and we've got a fantastic process now. 7 years ago when we first started, we came from a big corporate background, and Matt and I, especially on the delivery and quantity surveying side, when the company was small, we were able to be across everything and know everything. And as you get bigger, systems and process becomes so important. And again, we're not perfect by any stretch. There's a whole heap of processes there that don't get used yet, but we just want to be continually improving on that, and always trying to improve, always making sure we focus on one thing at a time. So, we send out every week, every Friday, we send out an email to the team, and it's about coaching and development. It might be about a site diary, for example, and it's just a quick one-pager of why is a site diary important, because you know how many people are on site that day, you're tracking man hours, who came to site council, you can put a photo in there of their council records, hey, the consultant came to site and talked about X, Y, and Z, that might be a variation. I spoke to Bob the painter, he said he was going to be finished by Friday. Those little things on a site diary, as an example, are so important. If you come back later and Bob didn't finish the painting by Friday, he took a week longer, you can actually go back and evidence something. You can, an extension of time if the weather was bad, you can sort of evidence that, hey, there was rain and everyone had to leave site by midday. Progress, especially if you're going for an extension of time, you can go back to that site diary record as evidence saying, no, well, that slab was poured on the 4th of April, and here's the evidence of it. So that's just one example, but they're really important. Really important for training and development and consistently trying to improve.
Yeah, it's almost the better your processes are, the less you have to rely on human. The less human error comes into effect, right?
Yeah.
There's no systems and processes, then it all comes down to the person.
Yeah.
But when the systems and processes are in place, then it's actually less pressure on the person, and you just follow the process.
Yeah, look, that's true, but it's also shit in, shit out, right? At the end of the day, people still need to input this stuff, so it's important that our people understand the importance of things. We give them good training to do that, and we give them enough space to be able to do that too. So for us, a lot of that comes from our site management team. So probably in the past, we haven't had enough site management on the ground, and then those systems and processes don't get done because that guy's having to run around all day managing things. So we've now got more site managers on projects that allows them actually to step back, do their QA, do their health and safety, do their document control, their RFIs well.
Yeah. Let's talk about the fact that we are currently, and I want to talk about Vivian in more detail shortly, but we are currently in a recession, quote unquote, in New Zealand. I'm not sure about Australia. I don't know if they're in a recession yet. But what does that mean for the construction industry from your point of view, and how does that affect you guys?
Look, mate, to me, recession is just a word. I don't buy into that. That's that really. Like, I think, obviously work's harder to get across the line. But, we were saying the other day, like, new business is so important. It's a function that we are trying to grow ourselves to be better at. But how arrogant of us, the last couple of years, work's just come to us, right? And now you've actually got to go out there and find it, you've got to work for it. I think it's, so it's pretty arrogant of us to go, oh, geez, the work's not out there anymore. What's out there? You just got to bloody work for it a bit harder. And as I said, we're working pretty hard on our new business system. And, for example, that if we want to do $40 million worth of work a year, we've sort of got some metrics that we've built. We reckon 70% of every project you hear in the pub, when you catch up with someone, 70% of those drop away. So when you price them, and then when you get so you're down to 30%, and when you price a job, you probably win 1 in 3. So to win $40 million worth of work, we need a funnel of around 400 million, a pipeline of 400 million to get down to our 40.
Yeah.
It's a bloody scary number. It's a big number. But if you get out there and shake the tree and talk to people, things start happening, and consistency is probably the other big one on that side of it for winning work. Consistently being out there and talking to people.
Yeah.
Because you never know when that job's coming, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I talked to a lot of, especially the residential side, builders going, oh, no, we're pretty busy. We always have something coming through. But I had the conversation the other day with a builder and said, well, you kind of want to focus also on the type of projects that you're working on, the quality. And it's almost like that analogy of, that old analogy of you have like the thing with the rock, you put the big rocks in first, then the small rocks, then the sand, and then you can fit more in.
Yeah. But
what guys do sometimes, like a big rock comes in, then a bunch of sand just comes in at the time, they take it, and then a bunch of small rocks, the next thing you know, they're at capacity. Mate, we're so busy right now, we don't have time for any more work. But it's like, but do a bit of an analysis of the type of work that you're working on. It's important, right?
Couldn't agree more. And that's something we've critiqued ourselves on. We've won some amazing projects and done some amazing projects. We built 2 out of 4 America's Cup bases. We've built the most sustainable police station in New Zealand. We've built the first Homestar 10 apartment project in New Zealand. We've done amazing things. But again, we look at it and we go, we've won that work from this tiny slither of the market, from the people we know. And we know a lot of other people. So we look at it and go, some of the other jobs, which I haven't mentioned, that haven't been as great. You look and go, well, if we actually were way more consistent on our new business and had a proper process, where could we have been, and where could we go in the future? So that's something I agree with you wholeheartedly. The quality of projects, and again for us, I look at us critically and go, the last 2 years we fell into building a lot of multi-residential projects, and we're commercial guys. So we've delivered 90 something odd units in the last 18 months, but we weren't multi-resi guys. So we've had a lot of learnings, a lot of mistakes to get there, and now we can do them exceptionally well. But we need to diversify our pipeline a lot more as well, and we're working hard on that.
Yeah, absolutely. What are the benefits? So you've done some residential stuff.
Yep.
Multi-unit, and I think you guys have done some single. I mean, at least with out of TRE, some single house stuff as well as the big commercial stuff. In terms of the projects, having done both sides of the market, does that make you a better operator, sort of across the board, or what are the benefits of having experience in both?
I mean, I'd love to say yes, because it's a good answer. But look, I think it does. I think for us, we call ourselves generalists, so we don't specialise in one area. Again, I don't like that word recession, but some markets are going better than others, right? And I think we've got to be generalists, because sometimes the market might spike at a certain time. You can't, healthcare can't spike, for example, and you just want to turn and pivot and do healthcare. You've got to be building into that over a long period of time, because you just won't get that opportunity if you don't have the experience. So, we're generalists in nature, the same as our site managers. We're generalists in what we do, but we're specialists in how we do it.
Yeah. With other building companies, a lot of building companies go bust, right? New Zealand and Australia. Australia is real bad at the moment as well. Every week, every day, building companies go under. What are your point of view? Like, what's the biggest reason, or some of the biggest reasons construction businesses go under?
I think we're builders, right? We come off the tools. We're not built to run businesses. So running a business versus being a builder is so different. And we've had lots of challenges along the way. We've had, the 2 big examples of where we've done it tough is where final payments haven't come through, and trying to chase that money, and then that puts pressure on you. But again, I think it comes back to we haven't trained in running businesses, but we're really good builders, and then naturally they become and go out on their own. And I think for us, we're 7 years in, and we say we've got a little term in the moment. We're saying we've done our apprenticeship in running a business, and now we know how to do it, and we do it we're going to do it bloody well, and we're excited now that we feel we've been through some tough stuff. We've been through some great stuff, and what I'm proud about is that we've learnt those lessons along the way and made changes. 2 years ago we were a very different business to where we are today, and again, everything I'm saying now is nothing's perfect. Everything about our systems and processes, none of them have been done perfectly. Some of them aren't being done at all, but we've got them there, and we're just going to consistently and try and improve and make sure we do nail all that.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you mentioned there 2017.
Yep.
That is 7 years ago. You guys just had your 7-year birthday. Birthday recently. Freaking, it's crazy how fast you guys have grown in a 7-year period. You talked about the projects that you've worked on with your brothers, Matt and Tom. You started the business. How did they come from different companies, different backgrounds? How did you guys come together to decide, what dinner was it how many wines to extra did you guys have one night and decided, hey, let's do this?
Yeah. So Matt's a quantity surveyor. He was at Arrow International, and I was at Lee's. Tom's a land surveyor by trade. He was working in the mines and had just come back. So Tom was needing to work, but also a client of ours, Tuhoi in the Central North Island. They were building a village in Ruatahuna, so middle of nowhere, remote project. And I was at Lee's, and wasn't something that Lee's wanted to take on, and it was probably that was the catalyst for us to go. We've got a project there, decent sized project to go have a crack on, and just pulled the trigger and did it, eh? And we didn't really think too much of it at the time. It was just let's have a crack and see what happens.
Poor Tom, he's coming from the mines. He thought he was going to come back to Auckland, and then next thing you know, he's
That's right. He's working. He's working right by Lake Waikato Moana.
Yeah,
that's right.
Okay, that's awesome. Okay, so then in a 7-year period, you look at the work that you guys have done down there, and that's with the iwi, right? You guys have worked on those America's Cup projects. Just looked at some pictures again this morning at the work you've done at Te Ari up at the golf course there with a clubhouse and some of the villas out there. You mentioned the Green Star building that you guys built. Jeepers, how do you guys get all these projects in such a short period of time? What is your secret, Jeff?
I've got no idea. I reckon it's consistency, and it's turning up and working hard. It's a bit of hustle, I suppose. But it's planning. We run a clear picture of what we want to achieve in a year, and then we work back to how we're going to achieve that. We actively try and chase the interesting and tough projects. So we want to do those jobs because if we're going to be doing this for 40 years, you might as well have some fun doing it along the way and some challenges. That's what excites us. That's what excites me, especially doing things that are a bit different, a bit out of the box. And even jobs that aren't that interesting, we always try and challenge the team. Well, what can we find in there that is a challenge? Can we do it a bit quicker? Can we, whatever it might be? And we always try and remember the clients. This project for the client usually only enables their project. So that if that's a multi-unit residential, it's because they need to go sell them. If it's building a new office block, it's because a business is thriving and needs to expand. If it's a ministry education project for a new classroom, it's because their role growth is growing. So our project of building stuff is only to enable the client's project. So it's really important, I think, that we have that front of mind, that sometimes building this for the client is actually just a pain in the ass because they need to start their project. So we try and keep that in front of mind. I think that helps us, in clients' eyes, be the right people for them, because we understand, we're tendering a job at the moment and it's an office refurb, but again, it's a development site. So in 3 years' time, that's probably going to be knocked down. So we've spent time during the tendering process to try and find value management there so we can reduce the cost as much as possible, because that's his goal, right? They don't need to spend a lot of money, because in 3 years' time, there's going to be a new bigger building.
That's a very, very good point. And I think a lot of builders miss this point completely, where they go tendering for a job, they focus so much on the numbers. And so it's like the two things is like, it's like we're going to make sure that our numbers are right so we can get the job, and we make sure we can be their mate, somehow. Yeah. If we're their mate and the numbers are right, we'll get the job. But it's not actually about that. It's actually really understanding your client's needs, right?
It is.
And whoever's closest to the client wins, it's like a saying.
Yeah.
And really making them feel like they're being understood, and their bigger objective is being understood. You're not just building, you're actually helping there's a bigger picture there.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so true. And again, we've grown in that ethos over time. It's a continuous improvement on that as well. And it gets tough when you're in the trenches and things are not going right to remember that. And we don't always get that right either. Sometimes you get really pissed off, but as a leader, it's probably our job to keep reminding the team about that bigger goal and why we're there, why we're doing this for them.
Yeah, exactly. And so how do you guys practically get this type of work? Not to give your secrets away, but is it just how do you get your hat in the ring? How do you guys how are you one of the builders that contender? How do you go about that, and how do you attract those type of work to you?
So in the commercial world, it's we're not normally dealing with the client direct a lot of the time. We're not building a house for someone. So there's these gatekeepers around the project managers, the professional project managers, the professional quantity surveyors, and the consultants. So we spend a lot of time meeting with people, coffees, lunches, and following up on those leads. We use Pacificon, which tracks leads, and you just go on there and search, and you might. It might be a project there, and then you click into that and you see that, one of your favourite architects is on it, so you can reach out to them and start to build that lead. That's the main way we do it. We've started a series of events, so 3 or 4 times a year. We're only on to our second one coming up, but we're running events called Build a Community, and the idea there, we've got consultants, clients, project managers, QSs. We have some of our competitors come along as too, because it's not about that. We're genuinely trying to build a community where we don't really know what the goal is, but it's a tough industry, right? It's a challenging industry. It's a combative industry. So the idea is come along, have a couple of drinks, talk some shit, tell some war stories in a calm, relaxed environment. Our first event, we had about 70 people turn up, mixture of, as I said, consultants, clients. And the idea there as well is that, those consultants might be able to talk to each other and they can get leads. You might be introducing an architect to one of our other clients who then they can start collaborating on another project. And hopefully that rolls downhill, right? They remember who put them together, but that's hopefully going to be a byproduct of it. But genuinely, it's about, can we build a good community, build a better environment, because it is a tough, combative environment. The first one we had Sean Quincy come along and speak. So Sean was his dad in the 70s rode solo New Zealand to Australia, and wow. Sean rode from Australia back. It took him 40 odd days, and an amazing story. Really good businessman as well, but it was really cool. The room was just absolutely gripped with his story, and we got a lot of value out of that. So we've got a second one coming up in July, and we've got Sir John Kerwin coming along to speak about mental health and things. So it's obviously a huge issue in our industry. So again, we hope that things like that, people come along, get some really good value out of it, and those are those, coming back to your question, those are those events where you might hear about 4, 5, 6 leads. You can put that into our CRM, and we can follow up on those over months, and then hopefully get on those lists.
Yeah.
But it's all relationship based.
Yeah,
It's all
yeah,
relationship
exactly. Yeah.
based.
So, and it's very interesting because you're very forward thinking in that way, because a lot of times builders sort of, they might have more of a mentality of lack, scarcity mentality, and not quite understanding that sort of, rising tides, rise all ships, or whatever the saying is, you know what I mean? So if we all get better together, we're all going to benefit, rather than sort of scrapping for work here and there. And there's enough to go around as well.
And that's probably to your point about recession as well. Like, there's more than enough to go around. And the last couple of years, we've all complained about being too busy and it's so tough. I'd probably argue that we're actually just going back to the levels of pre-COVID, and that's not a bad thing. We all had enough work then, and we didn't complain, and we all did great work. I think in the last couple of years, it's been really challenging with material shortages, labour shortages, and maybe our projects haven't been as good as they could be and should be. So, getting back to a pre-COVID level where we're all just doing a great job, I don't see that as a bad thing either.
Yeah, absolutely. I tend to agree with you there. Okay, so talk to me about Vivian Construction. Like, what sort of makes you guys different?
What makes us different? I don't think there's anything that makes us different. I think we're the same as everyone else. We make mistakes. I think what we are good at is that when we make a mistake, we'll own it. What I like about the commercial world with a contract, with a well-run contract, is we might put forward a variation for example. The client assesses it, the engineer, the contract assesses it, and we're either right or we're wrong. He can come back and say, no, it's pretty clear, I like it and that it's black and white. And we're pretty good that we won't try to defend a position to enhance ourselves if we're wrong. If we're right, we're right. If we're wrong, we move on. So I think that's a point of difference for us. We're pretty honest and open. We're honest when we've got issues. We try and celebrate our wins along the way. In the last year, we've really turned the business to be a lot more professional. Again, when we're young, we just kind of got things done, and we, through experience and everything else, we're able to deliver good projects. As we're bigger now, we're not over everything in as minute detail. So you've got to be way more professional, and I think that's going to serve us so well going into the future. Discipline and consistency is what we're striving to embed into our company culture.
Yeah.
And that word I said to you before, Kaizen, about continuous improvement. That's one of our key values, is Kaizen, continuous improvement. Another one of our values is legacy. So, and that's just about making decisions based on our long-term plan, and it might mean a bit of short-term pain, but try and make decisions based on legacy. We want this company to go on long after we're finished. It wasn't the plan originally, but now we want that to be a multi-generational company, for sure.
Very different when your name's on it.
Yeah, and again, the name, I'm really proud of that. But again, at the time, we were going out on our own. We had a decent reputation in the industry, and we sort of thought, well, if we put Vivian there, at least they might know that we're who we are straight away, instead of another name which doesn't tie back to us. So it was a little bit by accident. But the longer the company goes on, the more bloody proud I am that we've got our name above the door, and that's a really proud thing for us.
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely breeds accountability and breeds, long-term thinking when your name's on it.
That's it. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And it is a big thing for us, that legacy of decision making is about legacy and the long-term plan, not just the short-term gain.
Yeah, no, I love that. You talked about, culture. You talk about values, staff. What's important to you guys when you're hiring?
Look, I think we, as I said, I think a couple of years ago, we probably overworked everyone. We didn't have enough, so maybe that small business mentality, and I put myself in there. Like, it's taken me a long time to employ someone as that head of operations, what we term him now, but that 2IC to help on the delivery side, it took far too long for me to pull that trigger. So I suppose I don't want people to think that we've been perfect from day one. We're a beast that's trying to improve. But what do we look for? We look for attitude first and foremost. That's so important. People that are going to live our values. We hire slow, and we get criticised sometimes for that. We take a bit too long to make a decision, but it's really important the people you put into your culture. So we take our time employing people. We want people that are going to work hard, that want to improve. They don't have to be anywhere near the finished article. We always say to people as well, like, we want you to use Vivian. We want you to use Vivian as a vehicle for your career. And that you might give us 1 year, 2 years, 10 years, but use us to learn from. I like cooking and chefs, and they've got that thing where they go and they work in multiple restaurants, even for free, to learn from other people.
Yeah.
I don't think you can come and just learn off one person, try to become that person. You've got to learn from different people and make your own style. So, yeah, we say come in and learn and use Vivian as a vehicle for your career. Look, I believe that if we do everything we say they're going to do, they're not going to want to leave anyway. But we want people to feel that, they can grow with us, and if they need to move on for a better opportunity, that's okay. So we look for culture and people, and the attitude is really important. We want people that work hard. We do expect a lot out of our team. We expect a lot out of ourselves, so we expect a lot out of our team. But we do try and celebrate along the way and have those good wins. We've got an office which is really inviting. The pool table, the dartboard, the car simulator, which I can never use. But there's a beer tap in there. There's a fridge full of beers, and that's open for whenever they want to use it. If they want to come in on a Saturday with a couple of mates and watch the footy on the big screen and have some of their beers, they're more than welcome. We want a culture where people enjoy coming to work. That work-life balance is really important. We provide an annual value where they can a wellness sort of benefit where they if they want to I think they want to join a gym, we'll pay for it. If they want to buy a new golf club, we'll pay for it up to a certain value. Obviously, there's a limit on it each year, but so to encourage people to go out and be a bit more healthy, we've got a gym in the office. In the office there that our landlord provides, so cool. All our staff have access to that. And we think our job is to create a culture of work-life balance where they are not going to get looked at sideways if they're packing up at 2:30 to go pick the kids up or whatever it might be. You've got to get your work done, don't get me wrong. But we want to create a culture where that's acceptable, where you don't get looked at sideways. And as I say to people, it's our job to create that culture. It's your job to go and make sure you do it.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I love that, like, it just, because the world is kind of changing, you want people to feel comfortable at work, whether it's on site, for a smaller resi building company or like a big commercial outfit. And it's like that thing, if you need to go pick your kids up from school because your family dynamic, and but then at the same time you're shooting a few emails out later at night or whatever just to get things done. I think people like working like that a lot more than clocking in, clocking out, and feeling like they're going to prison for the day or something.
That's right. And construction's hard to do that though.
Yeah, of course,
because the site opens at 7 and it closes at 5, so it is hard. For them to do that. So I know a lot of the site guys, they go to the gym at lunchtime or during the workday, and that's totally fine, totally acceptable. When you're off site, the rule is they're going to make sure there's someone, usually there's multiple site managers, so they, the other guy's in charge or whatever it might be. So from a health and safety perspective, you've got to have that covered off and closed off. But it is the world these days, and construction's hard for that.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously they need to be on site, but there's other flexibilities that you could create for them around other areas as well. So I think people are kind of going more down that path. So what's your company structure like? Do you want to give me a bit of a rundown on sort of how many teams you guys got out there, guys, people in the office, that sort of thing?
We've got 15 professional staff. So they range from general manager is myself. We've got a health and safety. Matt runs the commercial team with a couple of QSs, site managers, project managers. So we like to run around 4 to 6 projects at a time is where we like to sit, and that works really well for us. With around 4, you can manage it really well. We hit our revenue and margin targets, but you're over everything. A couple of years ago, that was out to like 10, and it was chaos. Chaos, and we just had to get through and get them done, so we could reset to where we want to be going forward.
Yeah. And do you guys contract out the construction part of it to subcontracting?
Yeah, so we do. We subcontract out that as labour only, and we supply the materials.
Yeah. Okay, cool. And obviously you're the main man, you're the boss. What's your title? Managing director or director?
Anything anyone wants to call me.
Well, that's that.
Yeah, no, I don't really. I mean, I think I call myself the general manager, but as everyone will probably know, if you own a business, you're doing everything. You're sweeping the floor, you're doing finance, you're doing paying payments, you're doing everything.
A bit of everything, eh? So I guess over the last 7 years, there have been some learnings that you've taken in terms of leadership and what it means to be a good leader. How have you evolved in your leadership style? And is there anything you sort of learned along the way that you didn't quite get at the start? Yeah,
I haven't even got it yet. I know I'm quite self-aware about where my issues. I don't micromanage, but I like to be involved in everything, and I need to let people run with it themselves because we've got exceptional people that do a great job. I need to let them do that. I think my leadership style is pretty collaborative. I like people to come up with solutions. I like to work together to find those answers. We'd like to build a team. We've got a family name above the door, but we don't talk about being a family. We talk about being like a high performing sports team.
Yeah,
because you've got to argue with people. You've got to work through things. Construction is a combative industry, and sometimes you need to. I wouldn't say yell and scream. It's not my style, but I do think management's around you've got to live by your values, but each person needs to be managed in slightly different ways. So if you think about a rugby team, the props and the hookers might need to be yelled at and screamed at. The first 5, you just sort of tell him that's the outcome we need, and he'll figure out how to get there. And that pretty boy winger, you need to tell him that he's the most important guy on the team. If we didn't have you would be fucked, right? So I think everyone needs to be managed appropriately, but as long as the values is consistent and we're not sort of treating people differently, that's really important to us.
Yeah. What sort of what numbers are important to you guys at your level? What do you look at as success? The end, you look at your financials. Is it revenue? Is it team? Is it the amount of projects? Profit? What numbers are important to you?
All of it. Yeah. So we review our KPIs monthly. So we don't really have revenue targets. We've certainly got gross profit targets. And recovery. So the key sort of financial metrics we look at is our recoveries. So we try and aim for over 70% recovery. So recovery being our salaries are recovered via preliminary and generals in our projects. So we try and be around 80% or higher. That's really important for us. We track our gross profit each month. Then the other numbers we track every month are our man hours on sites. And these are mainly around for health and safety. So how many near misses do we have in the month? Do we have any lost time injuries? Do we have any medical treatment injuries? And then you relay those back to man hours so we can get a reading on how we're tracking. So that's really important. We do track our compliance now. Some of these things are very new. So, we're consistently trying to improve, so we do track our systems now. So we get a printout. We use a software called Procore, and we use Procore Analytics now. So that will tell us our compliance to site diaries, to QA documents. Also, we run our program through Procore, so it can give me a a printout on a Monday morning of X, Y, and Z didn't get achieved, and it would tell me which tasks, so we can then dig into those. So yeah, on a monthly basis, we track projects on time, health and safety statistics, our gross profit, our recoveries. Those are the main key ones, and then we do have annual targets around staff churn and things like that, so we can really staff churn, our staff satisfaction surveys, our client satisfaction surveys, and those surveys are very new, so we're really only rolling them out, but what we hope is they'll give us areas to improve on.
Yeah. Talking about tracking, I see you guys have been focusing a lot on your marketing initiatives. I see LinkedIn, Instagram. I sort of, just from the outside in, I can see you guys have put an effort into making sure that you're constantly out there, front of mind, spending, I assume, a lot of money on creating content, interviews, check-ins on projects and things like that. What's the point there? A lot of people are going to go, wow, is that going to give you any work? What's the point of all that? What's the point of that? And also, what's your strategy in terms of your marketing and sales component?
That's about legacy and brand awareness. So again, you're quite right that it might not win you a job when you put that post out or whatever. And look, I don't manage that. No, that's not my area, but I'm really proud of the work that Alex and Maddie do on that. But it's about consistency, and it's about, I think, when you are being put forward for a project, those clients, consultants, architects are going to go to your Instagram. They are going to go to LinkedIn and look through things. They are going to spend time looking at it. So we want to portray who we are, and we want to do that in a professional way, so that when people do go and look at it, they might. As I said, it might be a year's time, they're going to go back and look at things like at Te Ari or up at Auraki with Ngāti Whātua or whatever it might be. They're going to go look at all that. So we think that's the shop front window, and it's really important for that to be professionally done.
Yeah. And in terms of your strategy around sales, so you've mentioned before, you have those events that you run, you're doing the hand-to-hand combat, constantly coffees and beers and lunches and those sort of fun things.
It's exhausting though.
Yeah, it can be exhausting, eh? It's like, to be really honest, in transparency, this podcast has been the greatest thing for me to network, because you don't have to go do all that stuff. You could just have a yarn and chat with people, and you end up, then you become, friends or whatever. So I used to hate, back in the day when I used to work in real estate at Collier's or whatever, we used to have the accountants and the solicitors come, and you have to have the old wine and awkward chat. I used to not like those, eh? But so it is hard work. But what other strategies do you have when it comes to making sure that you can price up $400 million worth of projects every year?
Construction's hard, right? We're not selling T-shirts. We're trying to sell 30 T-shirts every single week. Things come always at the wrong time, when you're either too busy. They don't come when you're too quiet. And so nothing's perfect. Nothing bookends well for us. So there's not a huge strategy, to be honest. It's sort of fill the funnel. In short, mate, it's fill the funnel as much as we can, win the work we need, and get on with it. There's no real strategy there. I think if anything, it's like fill the funnel and try and win our targets as early as we can in the year. So we don't have to stress about it.
Yeah.
But I suppose the flip side to that is, in the past we've one work dropped off the boil on the new business, and that consistency, and then you sit there going, geez, I need a bit of work now, and it takes time to convert those jobs. So what we've learnt is consistency of going out and talking to people, and what I think is going to be interesting in a year's time after we've run this CRM is how much of those jobs actually just drop away. I think it's going to be really, because that 400 might be 200. We don't know yet, but those are the sort of numbers we've sort of thrown on the dartboard for now.
And it's impossible to know these things unless you kind of, what gets, documented gets measured. What's that saying?
Yeah.
Gets improved on. There's a better way of saying that. But so you got to document. You got to look back. So how important has it been for you guys to jump on Procore or your other softwares to kind of make sure you're just sort of tracking things?
So we use this is the biggest challenge I've got. We spend a lot of money every year investing into Procore, and the biggest challenge I've got is making sure our people use it consistently. It's a huge beast. It's the biggest, like, we don't swing hammers. So our guys' tools are their phone, their laptop, and Microsoft Project, it's Procore. So we need them to live in that consistently. That's my biggest challenge, is getting those guys to use it, because then the data it spits out is so valuable. But they've got to use it so we can actually learn from that.
What would you say to builders that want to, in the future, build the next Vivian Construction, that wants to be working on these type of projects? They don't want to do renovations. They don't want to do, the smaller residential stuff. This is what they want to do. This is their goal. What sort of advice do you have for them, and what sort of a path they could take to get them there?
So the advice I'd give would be consistent. You've got to be consistent. Don't rush. Put great people around you. If you're getting into commercial and you're not strong on contracts, make sure you can find someone that can come in on a contract basis or whatever that might be to help you on that. If you're not strong on programming, find an external programmer that can help you. Put good people around you. Don't be scared to ask a lot of questions. And don't be scared to reach out to people to help. It might be someone in the same industry. So if someone's coming into the commercial world, reach out to someone in that commercial world and ask for some help, because people want to help. I think it's human nature. People want to help each other. So I think it's surrounding yourself with good people, be consistent, work hard. And when we were going through some tough times, I think what got us through was just get out of bed and turn up every day. Turn up. Sometimes it's not going to be a great day. You turn up and it'll turn eventually, but it doesn't. But no one else is going to come save you. You've got to do it yourself.
Yeah. What are the pros and cons of being in a family business?
Look, mate, we've got through 7 years and it's fine. So the pros are huge, right? We know each other exceptionally well. We can have an argument and not take it personally and get over it quickly. We think what's really the biggest value I find is I know when they might not be on, or they might need me to step in and help them on something, and vice versa. If I'm not feeling great that day, if I'm anxious about a situation, Matt or Tom will jump in and take over, and I'll do the same. And it doesn't need to be said; it just happens. I think that's the hugest benefit. We're really fortunate. We're a tight group, and that's testament to mum and dad.
Yeah, no, definitely. Things don't always go to plan, as you know, in the construction game.
Yep.
Shit hits the fan, regularly. How do you deal with setbacks, or when you've just been floored with a massive contract falling over, or whatever the thing may be? What sort of, on a personal note, are there sort of any practical aspects of things that you do, or to kind of snap you back out of a funk?
My wife is probably the biggest supporter, and she's just amazing. I wouldn't be where I am in my career without her. We're a team, and she's a huge help. And she knows sometimes when I come home, and she'll just be quiet, and then eventually she'll ask me, and she'll get it out of me, and I feel a lot better. But I think talking about it, so talking about it, being open, and that's something I've got better at, is actually being a bit more vulnerable when something's gone wrong, is actually acknowledging it. But I'm pretty good at just dumping it quickly and moving on. So as you say, if it might be a contract that's fallen over, it's like, okay, there's no point dwelling on it. Dump it, go find the next one. Something goes wrong at work, on the site, dump it, move on. I think what's important there is, if someone's made a mistake, don't crucify them for it. Fuck, they didn't make a mistake on purpose, right? So I'm pretty good at that, to be honest. I've never really had that issue. Sometimes everyone's different and recharges their batteries. Sometimes I just need to take half a day off and go play golf, or sometimes it's just watch Netflix for a couple of hours or something, right, and reset and refresh. But yeah, I think the biggest one is just not dwelling on it. I'm a pretty glass half full guy anyway. And you can't change it. It's happened, so fucking move on and find the next thing.
Yeah, exactly. There's been times where don't do it all the time, but there's been times where like on a 10 a.m. on a Wednesday morning, I've gone and watched a movie by myself.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you just know that you just need to, and I always see it as almost just like breaking the pattern, because you're in a pattern of life, of your day to day. And sometimes you're in a bit of a funk and you just sort of continue, but sometimes you just need to break the pattern, like do something kind of, say extreme or whatever, just something just to break the pattern. Like I go watch a movie, or you just go, hey, you know what? I'm going to go play golf tomorrow, like for a half day or 9 holes or whatever. You break the pattern, and then that's like a good way to kind of snaps you back.
I think it's a really good way of saying it, actually, is breaking that pattern. That's a really great way of framing it,
Yeah, I found that super helpful. What's your sort of mentality towards approaching business and life? You've been successful. You're a successful guy. People always ask, what's your mentality or your approach to life? Is there anything there? Is there anything special, or is it just sort of that consistency? What else is there that we need to know?
It's not really easy talking about yourself, eh? I don't think I've got anything, special. I think we've got a special group of people. We've got a great team. We wouldn't be anywhere near as successful without the people around us. As I say, that's a family business. We've got amazing staff that have been there a long time. Mum and dad, all of our partners. I think that's what makes you special, and that's what drives me as well. Is I want everyone else around us to be successful. I want people to grow. I want people to have amazing careers. I should say because we just want the best for people. And I hope that comes across. Sometimes I lose my temper. It takes a bit for me to lose my temper, but I do, and I hate letting people down. That's probably what drives me. Is I hate letting people down. I want to be successful.
Yeah, that's awesome. I like that. Have you changed your mind about anything lately? Sort of a belief that you used to have that you don't have anymore, or?
Yeah, nothing springs to mind, but a lot. I've changed my mind a lot. I think what's changed is a lot for us is, as a business, probably that multi-generational piece where we want the business to be around for 100 years. That's really, I've changed my mind on that. I want that's a big one for us. So legacy, that's another big one for us. Probably that's what I've changed. Not that I didn't want that, but I suppose it's more now focus of what we want, and way more disciplined about how we get there. I'm a bit of an ideas guy, and so me living in systems and processes is quite hard for me. I'm good at setting them up. I'm not good at following them, so I need to follow them a lot more as well and lead by that example. Talked about that email that goes out every Friday. I've started that all through last year. So now I spent a day and I've banked like 30 emails in my outbox ready to go. So I know I can be consistent and live to that. So yeah, that's something I've changed a lot, is the focus of what we are. And I think it's probably that realization of maybe we thought we knew more than we did when we were, for the first 5, 6, 7 years, and now actually looking back and going, we learnt on the job, we've done our apprenticeship. And I think that's changed in my mentality too. So I can, a lot of things I'm saying today, I wouldn't have been saying a year ago. That's for sure.
Yeah. And what is success to you?
What is success? It's being Kaizen and continuously improving. We don't have a ceiling for what we want to be. It's just always improving, always being better. and success ultimately looks to me that my family's secure, my family's future's secure, the business is thriving, we're growing people from cadet site managers through to project directors, that they are getting an amazing career, they're setting their families up. So success to me is everyone around us being happy and fulfilled.
Yeah. And how many, have you got kids?
Yep.
How many kids have you got?
Got 3 kids. I've got a 13-year-old daughter, Amelia, and twin boys, Bo and Leo, who are 9. Yeah.
Oh, was that a bit of a surprise when you found out it was twins?
It certainly was. They surprise us still every day. No, it was a big surprise, and that was a challenge. So I was when they were young, working a lot, and that's probably something I need to work on going forward as being a bit more present around the family and doing a few more pickups from school and things like that. That's something I want to work on. I coach their rugby team, and I love doing that, and doing things with Amelia as well. So, yeah, something that's my work on at the moment is getting home a bit more often for them.
Yeah, what is it? What is it to you to be like a good dad?
I reckon that they feel safe and secure, and they can tell us whatever they need to tell us. If they've done something wrong, we always say we'd rather hear about the problem than find out about it. So, good. I think that they feel safe and that they can talk to us and be honest.
Yeah. It's very hard sometimes to navigate between work life, success at work and success at home. And they sometimes work in juxtaposition to each other, as architects would like that word, the ones listening. How do you navigate work life and family life? And are there any sort of practical things that you've learned over the years that sort of helps with that?
I used to, on a Friday, delete my email from my phone, email app, and reinstall it on a Monday, and I've got out of that habit. But I think I'm going to re-engage that just after this discussion, to be honest. I think that's a good one to... I think owning a business is hard to do that, though, because you've got to be always on as well. When something happens, you've got to be available. So it is hard. That's my biggest struggle is just probably stopping and enjoying that a bit more. Even down the pub, I've tried really hard for a few years there. All I talked about was work, and I was like, I looked at myself and went, geez, that's so fucking boring. So I work hard on not talking about that now outside of work and just enjoying time with my mates, which I bloody enjoy.
Yeah, and you can almost you get more refreshed, when you kind of step out of it, you do other stuff. Even though with a business, it does consume you, the amount of times my wife has talked to me and I'm just sort of like, I don't even hear what she's saying, because you're thinking about the business and you new ideas and where we're going. But I think it is definitely a benefit, in terms of being involved with other things, whether it's sport or, just friends and family and things like that, just to kind of snap you out of it. And then when you come back to it, you're a bit more refreshed.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely agree.
We got ourselves a partner on board at Better Builder.
Nice.
We're very pumped about that because we have, it costs money to, we've got Chen over here behind the camera, we've got cameras running, and we have to get the message out to builders. So it costs money out of out of my pocket every week. So we had Abodo, Abodo. So they've come on board and they said they wanted to help us get the message out there. So that's we're pumped about that. Abodo is such a cool brand. Yeah. And they do really high quality, timber products. So we're really pumped. So each episode, I sort of just talk about, I learn about the timber industry, and I just sort of give what I've learned this week about the timber industry, and about Abodo as well. So in terms of Abodo, I guess this week what I've kind of figured out is that they really care. Have you guys used them on any of your projects before?
No, we've used them on heaps. But Abodo, a great product, great company, but also a great company. So we did Taniato Police Station. We did the Living Building Challenge with them at the Tūhoe headquarters in Taniatua.
Cool.
They're on Ngāti Whātua Aureki with us at the moment. So we've done multiple projects.
Oh, very cool.
And they're even at Aureki. a bit of a new initiative about sustainability where we're sorting the offcuts under a certain, that we can't use, sorting them into bags, and they're taking them away and recycling them themselves. So pretty cool story.
Yeah, that's perfect. That's a perfect analogy or perfect example of just the fact that they do care about the environment in like a real way, because sometimes there's a lot of talk around, global warming and all that sort of climate change and all that sort of stuff. And some of the stuff sort of pipe dreamy and, it looks sort of 100 years out. But these guys are quite heavily involved in that in today's, sense of the phrase. So, a couple of things that I actually learned about them in terms of how they care about the environment in a real way is obviously they use all their timber from rapidly renewable plantation forests in New Zealand. So it turns out, I didn't know, but apparently New Zealand's one of the best places to grow timber because the soil is so nutrient dense and it's a lot of rain. We have a lot of rain here. Yeah. So they have the pine trees that grow super fast, cut them, and then go and process it, and then it sort of grows super fast versus the alternative is overseas, it's those sort of old growth forests that they go and chop all the old trees down that are way past maturity, which ruins all the wildlife and has massive biodiversity negative consequences out there. So that's a big one. So they grow it right here in New Zealand. So chop it off, they process it, treat it and everything here in New Zealand, and then deliver it to you guys, which is kind of cool. And the other thing is that their timber is thermally modified, which means that obviously it even changes the timber itself, but they don't have any sort of nasty chemicals that they put through that process either, which is kind of good for obviously if you live in a house or whatever, and the deck's all abodo. But also what's important is like the environment doesn't get affected by all those chemicals, so that's really good. And then the third one I put down here, which is quite interesting as well, is just the transportation, chopping, and sometimes chopping timber down and having it processed overseas or even bringing overseas timber in, the process of transporting it there and back is like a huge negative impact on the environment, right? So having timber straight from New Zealand, processed here and everything, and then delivered to you guys, and then there's obviously a whole bunch of other benefits that builders have to using Aboda products. But yeah, just the sustainability aspect of it is pretty cool. So thanks Aboda for being a partner on this podcast. I've got some rapid fire questions for you,
sure,
Jeff.
Okay,
and then I'll let you go. It's been really fun having you on the podcast, so I appreciate that. Don't know if the people can hear all the construction going on in the background, but it's sort of part of the ethos of the podcast. Okay, Jeff, how big is your team?
14.
What is your team mix?
Mix of site managers, project managers, QE, quantity surveyors, health and safety, quality.
How many projects did you complete last year?
5.
Cool. What was your turnover last year? 5 to 10, 10 to 20, 20 to 30, 30 plus?
30 plus.
Yeah, it was 40. You've mentioned it before. What's the lowest gross profit margin building company should be aiming for?
I think it's different for everyone. Sorry, I don't know if I can answer that because it's the way you set up. So we aim for over 10, but we achieve over 10, but a lot of our recoveries and overheads are in projects as well. So it's kind of skewed. So it would be higher.
Yes, yeah. So it depends on how you
you structure your business.
Project management software or spreadsheets?
Project management software.
You are EV or petrol head?
Petrol.
Classic rock or metal head?
Rock.
Jock or hippie?
Jock.
Are you too mean or too nice to your staff?
Well, that's for them to answer.
Are you an extrovert or an introvert?
I'm an extrovert at work. I'm an introvert at home to recharge.
Cool. Golf or fishing?
Golf.
Favorite book or non-business book? Sorry, favorite business or non-business book?
The book I probably come back to every couple of years is the Toyota Way. So it's about the Toyota production system and how can learn lean manufacturing, which we're trying to put that into lean construction.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
That's cool. Haven't heard that one before, so I'll check that one out. What's your favorite hobby?
Golf. Although my wife says I never play, so I'm not allowed to call myself a golfer anymore.
It's like my wife with me surfing. She's
Yeah.
like, I've seen you surf like once. Wine or whiskey?
I would say wine, but I'm part of a whiskey society that meets once a month, so they'll kill me if I don't say whiskey for the HSDG.
Oh, shout out. Makita, DeWalt, or Milwaukee?
Makita.
Glass. Well, you're probably more a Ryobi guy these days,
Yeah,
right?
that's right. Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Glass half empty or half full?
Half full.
Do you think more about the past or about the future?
Probably the future, but I think I do put a lot of thought into the past to learn from our mistakes.
Yeah. What's
So it's a fine balance, actually.
Yeah, it is, right. Well, even better to be in the present, right?
Yeah, there you go.
What last piece of advice do you have to a young builder coming through that wants to run its own company and be successful?
Don't rush. Learn from as many people as you can, and ask a lot of questions. Don't be scared to ask questions or ask for help, especially. Don't be scared to ask for help.
Yeah, that's great advice. That's it, Jeff. Did you have fun?
I did, thank you.
Awesome. Thanks so much for coming on, and I think this would have added a lot of value to a lot of builders.
Cool.
So thanks for that.
No problem, thank you.